Are you in a marching band and need to know how to read your coordinate sheet or drill chart? Well, you've come to the right place, because in this video, I will be giving a complete tutorial on those exact things coming up. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Zachary Savinsky, and let's get right into it. This sheet right here that only has the coordinates of an individual performer is called a coordinate sheet or dot card, because it has all of the coordinates, which are also known as dots, of one person on the field. A drill chart, on the other hand, is the big picture of what all of the sets in the drill are supposed to be, and that includes every single performer's location as displayed right here. The term set refers to the specific form, shape, or image of all of the performers combined that are being put out into the field. And the combination of all of those sets is called the drill chart. It's also important to note that everything on the coordinate sheet or drill chart is going to be from the perspective of someone who's watching from the front sideline, otherwise known as director viewpoint. This means that you have to keep that perspective in mind when reading numbers on the coordinate sheet or viewing the drill chart, which we'll touch more on a little bit later in the video. Starting things off with the coordinate sheets, the set number refers to a specific form or location. As we discussed earlier, we already know that sets refer to a specific form, image, or shape. And every single one of those different forms, no matter if it's a move or a hold, is assigned a number, so that way we know exactly which set we're talking about. Which really helps out a lot because we can give specific information that the performer can understand, instead of saying things like, all right, time to go to the squiggly blob line thing. Instead, we can just say, go to set 7, and the performer knows exactly where that is. Next up are counts, which is the number of beats it will take you to travel or hold from set to set. So for example, this sheet says that you have 8 counts to travel from the set you're currently standing in, which would be set 1, to set 2. Meaning that if we were in 4/4 time, it would take you 2 measures of music to get to your next set, because 2 measures in 4/4 time equals 8 beats or counts. Alright, now for the left to right, which tells you exactly where you need to be on the field from, you guessed it, left to right, which on a football field means the direction you're going towards the end zones, not the sidelines. And if you remember what we talked about earlier in the video, this is where knowing that everything is in director viewpoint comes in handy. Because if it says you're on the right side of the field, that means it's the director's right and the performer's left. And then the same thing for if it's the left side of the field, that would be the director's left and the performer's right. All of that if you're facing the front sideline. So if you're on the right side of the field, this is your side. And if you're on the left side of the field, this is your side. 50 to the end zone on both sides of the field, from the viewpoint of the director. If you're directly on the 50-yard line though, it'll just say on 50-yard line with no right or left indication, because the 50 is the middle. There are some coordinate sheets that are labeled as side 1 and side 2 as opposed to left or right, with side 1 being the left side of the field and side 2 being the right side of the field. A good way to remember this as a performer is that from your left to right, the age out in DCI is 21. At least for now it is. Still in the left to right section, after it tells you which side of the field you're on, it will then tell you how many steps you are inside or outside of a yard line. With inside meaning you would be going in towards the 50, the middle, and outside meaning you would be going out away from the middle, the 50-yard line, towards the end zones. So for example, this dot card that we've been looking at, which is labeled as C10, tells us that for set 1, we should be on the right side of the field, 4 steps outside of the 30-yard line. Meaning that starting on the right side 30-yard line, we should be going 4 steps outside of the line, away from the 50-yard line and towards the end zone. Every 5 yards is 8 steps apart, meaning that if a dot is 4 steps off of a yard line, that dot is going to be directly in the middle of 2 yard lines. And in this case, that would be in between the 30 and the 25. Alright, the last thing to mention about coordinate sheets is going to be the home to visitor section, also known as front to back. Front being your front and back being your back if you're facing the front sideline. Everything is going to be marked based on the distance you are from the home sideline, home hash, visitor hash, and visitor sideline. The home sideline is just another way of saying front sideline, and the visitor sideline is just another way of saying back sideline. And then that would be the same thing for the hashes as well. After we know what we're marking off of, the coordinate sheet will then tell us how many steps we are either in front of or behind one of those 4. So for example, on this dot card, it's telling us that we are 14 steps in front of the visitor hash. Okay, now that we've talked about all of that content, let's move on to the drill charts, which if you remember, displays the complete picture of the form, image, or shape that we're trying to make on the field. In the lower left-hand corner, this is where it tells you some of the same information that is on the coordinate sheet, such as the set number, the amount of counts it takes to get to that set, And then sometimes they'll also include which measures in the music that is as well. All of the individual performers or dots are labeled on the field with a letter that represents their instrument group, and then a number that represents which number they are in that instrument group. However, don't ask me for a universal list of which letter equals which instrument, because literally every single drill writer does it differently, which is really annoying. I digress though. The performer that we've been keeping track of with the coordinate sheet is labeled as C10, which according to this drill writer's label guide is a clarinet. The 10th one, and based on what we know C10's coordinates to be, let's look at where they should be on the drill chart. For set 1, we know that C10 is going to be on the right side of the field 4 steps outside of the 30-yard line. So when looking at the drill chart, we know that this is the right side of the field because it's in director viewpoint, meaning that the 30-yard line we want to be looking at is this 30-yard line. The black lines on the chart represent yard lines, and the thicker blue lines represent 4-step intervals. The thinner blue lines, on the other hand, represent 1-step intervals. So again, knowing that C10 is 4 steps outside of the 30-yard line, we go away from the 50 and we know that the thick blue line represents 4 steps. So C10 should be right there on the field. 4 steps outside of the right side 30-yard line. Then for their front to back, we already know that they should be 14 steps in front of the visitor hash. The hash being the checkered black line that runs all the way from end zone to end zone. And at the high school level, the hash is going to be 28 steps from either sideline. But for this dot, we need to be 14 steps in front of the visitor hash. So we need to start by counting in 4-step intervals, which would be the thick blue lines. So from the hash, we have 4, 8, 12, and then we need to count the thin blue lines to get to 13 and then 14. Which then, because we already know C10 is 4 steps outside of the 30, we know their dot is supposed to be right here on the field. And there we have it. We just learned how to read a coordinate sheet and a dot chart just in time for marching band season. I know that was a lot of information, but I really hope I was able to eliminate any confusion or maybe even give a refresher to those of us who forgot. I know I need a refresher every now and again. But hey, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you never miss another video. Until then though, I hope you have a great week and happy marching band season.